All right, so you ready to take another deep dive?
Absolutely. Always ready to go deep.
Fantastic. So we got a lot of requests from listeners to really break down Kenneth Penmark from The Bad Seed.
Yeah, he's a really fascinating character to me.
Yeah, I mean, at first glance, you don't really think he's all that important
Right.
to the story, Like he's just kind of there.
Right. Like, he's not the villain, right? He doesn't seem like an evil guy.
Exactly. But, when you really look at it like you did in your notes here and with this audio summary,
Yeah.
you start to see just how much he adds to the whole chilling, messed up vibe of the film.
Exactly. He's like this kind of quiet storm, Like, his presence, or I guess lack of presence, really impacts everything.
Yeah, and that's what I really wanted to dig into today, like the fact that he's always gone,
Right, right.
with his military career always off on assignment. What do you think that does to their family dynamic?
Well, it obviously leaves this massive void, right? You have Christine, who's left to deal with Rhoda basically on her own.
All up,
And we know Rhoda's a handful, to say the least.
to put it lightly, yeah.
So just imagine the pressure on Christine dealing with that and never having her husband around to help or support her.
And it's got to be tough.
Yeah.
You're dealing with something that intense,
Mm-hmm.
and you feel like you're all alone.
Right. And that isolation just feeds her anxieties, right? Like, it pushes her further and further into this state of paranoia.
And self-doubt.
Totally. And you know what makes it even worse?
What's that?
Kenneth basically dismisses all her concerns about Rhoda.
Right, and that's so chilling, especially since we, the audience, we know what Rhoda's capable of.
Exactly. It's like dramatic irony, right?
Right.
Like, her just screaming at the screen, like, no, she's not all right.
Seriously. I mean, remember that scene where Christine tries to tell Kenneth about Rhoda's reaction to losing the penmanship medal? Oh, yeah. And he just laughs it off like it's nothing?
It's heartbreaking,
Yeah.
because he just attributes it to childish disappointment. But we know it's so much more than that.
And that just feeds into Christine's self-doubt even more.
Exactly. She starts questioning her own sanity. Like, am I crazy? Am I overreacting? It's tragic.
It's almost like he's gaslighting her,
Yeah.
even if he doesn't realize it.
Right, right. It's unintentional, but it's still so damaging. And I think part of it has to do with the societal attitudes of the time.
The 1950s,
Yeah, back then the image of the perfect nuclear family was
it
everything.
was like the American dream,
Exactly. And any hint of dysfunction or problems, especially when it came from the woman of the house,
Oh, right.
it was just dismissed as hysteria.
You're really like, oh, she's just being emotional.
Exactly. So
Right.
Christine's concerns were probably never taken seriously.
Which is crazy because we know they're totally valid.
Right. And the film does a great job of subverting those 1950s ideas of the perfect family.
Totally. And you know what else is interesting? Kenneth's complete blind faith in Rhoda's innocence.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is behind that?
It's like the societal blind spot we all have, right? Like, it's so much easier to believe that everything's fine and dandy.
And to face the ugly truth.
Right. And especially when it comes to family, I think we have this deep-seated need to believe that our loved ones are good.
Even when the evidence suggests otherwise.
Exactly. Kenneth just represents that tendency to just ignore or downplay any signs of trouble within the family.
It's easier to look away.
Right. And I think his military background probably plays a role in this too.
How so?
Well, the military is all about order and discipline and following the rules.
Yeah, it's a very structured environment.
Exactly. So maybe Kenneth just couldn't conceive of his daughter being anything other than perfect.
Right, it just didn't compute.
Yeah, and what's scary is how these seemingly innocent things about Kenneth
Like being absent all the time.
and dismissing Christine's worries,
And believe in Rhoda no matter what.
all these things actually contribute to the film's psychological tension.
And they make it so much creepier.
They do, and it makes you wonder, what if Kenneth had been more present?
Right, what if he had paid more attention?
Could he have stopped Rhoda? Could he have saved everyone?
It's a terrifying thought.
Really makes you think.
Yeah, and I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about here.
For sure.
So next time you watch The Bad Seed, pay close attention to Kenneth.
He's not just some background character.
He's a key player in the whole twisted story.
And his role is way more complex than it seems at first glance.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
Anytime, I always enjoy these conversations.
All right, until next time,
See ya.
bye.